Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
It leads me to a question. October 17th, Packers-Bears. Any idea who's going to be there? Anybody who's going to be quarterbacking in the number 12 jersey?
Yeah, I don't know, BA. We'll see.
How about September 12th then? Will you go for that one?
What's that one?
That would be the opener against the Saints.
Oh.
All cheesers rejoice.
Yeah, I don't know, BA. We'll see.
Okay.
I know you're a Milwaukee guy.
I know.
Aaron, everybody is on their toes. They want to know, man. They want to know.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'm just having a good time out here with Tom. I'm trying to talk to him about it. If he's going to keep playing or not, you know?
The best.
Yeah, that sound you hear in the background. Rick Spielman was actually part of the match broadcast, just laughing in the background. Yes. Boys, welcome to Daily Vikings Entertainment. Purple Daily, Phil Mackey, Judd Zolgad, executive producer Declan Goff, presented by our friends at TCL. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL. We'll get into Vikings predictions and football predictions as part of Write That Down. A Judd Zolgad camp story. We're going to unveil some fun camp stories with training camp on the horizon. But I know that you guys, Judd for sure, glued to that Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau deal yesterday. It was super fun. And Aaron Rodgers is a pretty damn good golfer, but he just seems so peaceful and zen. He's been working on his mental health all off season. He played coy again when asked if he's going to play for the Packers. At one point, Tom Brady he was taking a jab at Rodgers and saying something like, I'm just trying to scout my opponents here. Aaron Rodgers is the leader of the Packers, I think.
Yeah, the Brady stuff. The Brady trolling now, the best part about Brady being away from Belichick is not the Super Bowl in Tampa. It's the freedom he now feels to talk.
Yes.
And it's hilarious because he is a smart ass galore. And we finally get that now. Like, he doesn't hold back now.
Dude, last year, he did this last summer too. Basically during the pandemic, he just signed with Tampa and he hadn't had any workouts with Tampa yet. And so he's probably nervous because he's going to play for a new team for the first time in 20 years. And so he was a little uptight during the match last summer and he didn't play as well. Yep. And this time he's just like, woo, yep. He's probably got his White Claw and a half buzz on. He's trash talking. He's feeling good. He's got another ring. He's been to 10 Super Bowls. It's amazing.
The thing that strikes me about Rodgers is this. He looks to me like somebody who has come to a very peaceful resolution that he might not play football. He just looks like
So you think this might be a premature write that down here. Feel free to withhold this for another 5 minutes, but do you think he might not play ever again?
You know what? I think he will, but he looks like he's at peace if he doesn't. I just think he's competitive and he's a very smart guy, but I think he has, because of things like Jeopardy, right? Because he's got an interests that go well beyond football. Like, I think Brady's football. Like, I think he just loves football. He loves to play. Favre did too.
Football.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, watch him now, and he's got the long hair.
I love the hair.
And he's come, like you said, Phil, he's talked about his mental health, which is a very unfootball-y football thing. This strikes me as a guy who has come to a decision in life of, if I don't play, I don't play. And I don't think he ever puts on a Packer jersey again. I really don't.
The other thing that's hilarious, and Brett Favre was much more Wisconsin than Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers is very California. He talks differently. Favre talked differently too. But I think if the southeast part of the country could adopt one state north of the Mason-Dixon line, it would probably be Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So they sort of fit well. But the funniest thing is, that state and that small town, for as passionate as they can love their star players, whatever it is about that environment, and I've got my guesses, it drives people crazy who play there too long. Like Brett Favre was every other year he was wanting to retire and he was going batty, and Aaron Rodgers is having a mental breakdown and just needs to get away from all human communication. So congratulations, Green Bay. You've had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, 2 of the top 5 or 10 best to ever do it for the last 30 years, and you've driven them both crazy. I guess self-awareness alert. I'd rather have that problem than the problem the Vikings have had over that 30-year stretch, but it's still hilarious to watch what's happening.
It's great.
Well, and Favre flat out went from being this, he can play in the cold, right? He's Brett Favre, he can play in the cold, and he was terrible. By the end, he hated the cold, and that was crystal clear. I think you're right. I think Rodgers is just a different cat, and I think he wants to go home and play if he possibly can. But I really believe if they tell him tomorrow, dude, it's done, you'll get the Jeopardy job, right? Because, I mean, he's going to get opportunity to do some cool stuff. I think he'd be at peace with it. I just don't think football drives him. Yeah. I think he's competitive. I think competition drives him. But, Favre was driven by football. That's what he had. That was his life.
I think one more take on this, and then I don't know about you guys, but I have more where this came from in the Write That Down predictions. We can get to those, but I think Aaron Rodgers still absolutely wants to play football, but I don't think he wants to play football for that organization anymore. And if only there were a team somewhere in the NFL that, had a track record of adopting star quarterbacks toward the end of their career, sometimes even from the Packers, and welcoming them with open arms and a soft, fun landing in a fling for one season. I can't think of a team that would maybe be.
You mean a team that might allow Aaron to stick it to his former team, who he feels sort of betrayed him?
Maybe twice. I don't know. Maybe twice in the same season.
I don't know who that is.
Well, we can keep dreaming. Let's get to the Write That Down portion of today's proceedings here, Declan, if you would.
Most make predictions and then never admit they're wrong. Yeah, that's not Mackie and Judd. This is the place where we just totally own our horrible predictions.
Write this down.
And eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Write that down.
It's Write That Down.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
With Mackie and Judd.
All right, every week we put our careers and reputations on the line because we, for whatever reason we haven't figured out, put completion percentages next to our predictions. All right, we keep track statistically of how often we are right and wrong. We do it on Mackie and Judd every single week. We've been doing it for about 6 years, and we just introduced in the early part of this year a football-centric version of Write That Down. 3 Vikings or football-related predictions each week from everybody. They must be quantifiable. We keep track of, like I said, completion percentage and touchdowns. And listeners, if you guys want to be guest listener predictors on the show, just send us a message through the Score North app. Right on that homepage, you can tap on feedback and then send a note, a quick message to Declan or myself, and we'll get back to you and we'll get you scheduled. So John actually is our guest listener predictor today. He had a scheduling conflict, so he sent in his pre-recorded versions so that we can't trash talk him back. So we'll get to those in just a minute here. But boys, there's not much coming off the board in terms of an accountability session these days because there's nothing happening in football. But rest assured, once the season starts and even once camp starts, we're going to have stuff flying off the board. These accountability sessions are going to be very shameful for all of us. So for now, I've just got some highlighted predictions that are still on the board for all of us, if you guys are down for that. All right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Judd, you at one point predicted Anthony Barr has played his last game as a Viking. And you might figure, well, why didn't you guys take that off the board? He restructured his contract, his old contract. And so now he has a new contract with the Vikings, Judd. And, you should take this off the board. Well, what you're basically rooting for here is if Anthony Barr suffers some sort of an injury in training camp and doesn't play a game for the Vikings, that's the only way that you would get this prediction correct. And so we have to leave it on the board until he actually plays in week 1.
Game.
It's football. It's a very dangerous sport. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And hopefully you're not rooting for that, but
of course I'm not.
I know how your evil brain works and write that down.
Achilles can tear in practice. That's all I'm going to say.
Who was the guy that blew out both of Was it Greg Child that blew both of his knees on one play?
Oh, that was disgusting. Yes. Yeah, in Mankato at that night scrimmage. Yeah, the patella tendon and both knees ruptured.
I said Aaron Rodgers will be named full-time host of Jeopardy by the end of 2021. I am still very firmly standing behind that. Did I see that Sanjay Gupta, the medical guy from CNN, was hosting Jeopardy at some point like last week? So, if that's the competition, it's like Aaron Rodgers or the medical talking head from one of the news networks. I think Rodgers has an inside track.
There's a bunch of there's 5 candidates, right?
Who are the other ones? Is Ken Jennings in the mix?
Ken Jennings, yeah. In fact, the last time I saw a list of favorites, Ken Jennings, I think, was first and Rodgers was second.
See,
Blossom got involved.
What?
Blossom.
Like from the 30-year-old TV show?
Yeah, because she's
Like a porn star.
no, she's an actress now. She's on.
Blossom.
She had a Fox show.
Deja vu.
It's Mayim Bialik. Mayim Bialik. Yeah, that's Blossom, and she had a.
That's really going to hook
Fox.
the younger audience into
She had a
Jeopardy.
Fox show,
really going to
but
get
I
people
just thought-
intrigued.
But she's got like a degree in it. She's like a doctor. She's got a doctorate. So she's
really,
a very
really
smart
making you
person,
wanna
and
watch
she's
the
an
show.
actress.
Why do you know
Anyway,
this information too, by the way?
dude, I read a lot of
Clearly.
like Us Magazine. I'm big on pop culture. Oh, I love pop culture. Are you kidding?
Oh my god.
Like I don't
I love
like
Lord
like I
help
don't
us.
keep up with The Bachelor and stuff, but like celebrity stuff,
Dude, you know what you need right
in.
now? You need your man card back. You need to go to Brainerd International Raceway, Judd. All right, this is an intervention for Judd right now. Put
Okay,
down
drive.
Us Magazine, put down all those little gossipy magazines, and get out a full weekend of live racing with the Trans Am Series, July 16th through the 18th. It's the second annual Jed Copham Memorial Race. It's a blast. If you guys have never been to Brainerd International Raceway, it's a great time. It's a great time to get out, see some live racing. Tickets and camping packages available now at BIRMN.com. BIRMN.com. And I'm going to guess that they probably don't have a stack of Judd's favorite gossip
Do they have
celebrity magazine. No, I don't think
No,
they do.
Judd, they do not.
All right, whatever.
The listeners said, Tony said, in a Purple Daily episode between weeks 1 and 5, there will be a single episode where Mackie and Judd use the word philosophy 5 times or more. So I would
I
guess
love
that if this happens, are we going to be frustrated with like the Vikings offensive philosophy and Mike Zimmer's lack
Yeah,
of
the philosophical
modern
standpoint,
philosophy?
which I like to use a lot. I mean, because you got a lot of philosophical thought processes in football.
Actually, that's another question. This is a very specific. So he
Yeah.
says the word philosophy. If Judd
I say
says
philosophical.
philosophic, it's an iteration of philosophy. Does it count? I think we'd have to count it if he nails that.
I'd
Any
count it for
iteration.
him.
Yeah.
I'd count it for him.
I like it.
Philosophical.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'd count it. I think any iteration of philosophy should count.
Okay.
Like, we're not looking to punish the listeners, just
Well,
us.
Yeah. Sometimes.
We only hold ourselves super accountable.
Some might argue we're punishing the listeners every day by blabbing for 30 minutes about the Vikings. But
I consider it a
Declan, you've got Sean Mannion not being the Vikings' active backup
Yep.
week 1 of the NFL season. Now, I don't think he has signed with anyone.
He has
So
not.
is it possible that if like Jake Browning is a train wreck and Kellen Mond is just too inexperienced, could they have the Sean Mannion bat signal, whatever that looks
Oh my
like,
God.
sometime
don't.
during the middle of preseason?
Is that a flashlight?
Please don't.
Like,
What's
the
something
Mannion
what's something
bat
smaller
signal?
than a flashlight? That
The
we
white flag. But I mean, they're just waving a
Just
white
wave a-
flag on the
Hey!
top of MSP's airport
Hey,
tower.
it's Sean.
Just
I'm
oh my
here.
God, help us, please.
You guys are so mean. Small sample size. We haven't seen enough of Sean Mannion for you to make a
think
judgment
we-
like that.
We
Oh,
all
that's-
saw enough of Sean
That
Mannion.
man has a family. Okay.
Declan speaks for me.
I don't. So yeah.
So with that, the statistics are the same as they were last week. Judd 37% completions, Declan 34. I'm at 28. Listeners 27. Judd and Declan no touchdowns at all this season. We're halfway through the year.
We're
I
waiting.
have 5, and listeners have.
We're just
Well, nothing's
One.
coming
Remember
off the
that-
board right now,
remember that
so I'm
old,
not gonna.
that old Cam Newton play 60 commercial. I'm just warming up my arm. I'm just
Yeah.
waiting. I'm just waiting until week 1 of the
Oh, yeah.
season. Then
Okay.
all the Drew Lock and all
You
the
know
other
what?
touchdowns that I'm throwing about to come on through. My
It's-
young Jeezy moves. I'm ready to go.
It's not fair to criticize us when nothing is coming off the board.
What do you mean? We just had 2 football players play golf yesterday. You could have made it. You could have made a prediction. It could be anything loosely football related, and you're just
right, but there won't be
choosing to
touchdowns.
kick the
But there
can
won't be
down.
touchdowns.
We'll just-
But there won't be touchdowns.
Yeah,
And the
we'll
match.
just wait. We'll just wait.
I don't trust the
Judd and I
match.
know what we're doing.
I don't trust the match.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do. So John has sent in his pre-recorded prediction. So we'll start with John, and then we'll go Judd, Declan, and then back to myself. Again, they just must be even loosely football related, or they can be hardcore football related. It's totally up to you guys. So Dex, how do you want to set this up? Did John just send in like is he just like on a selfie cam, or what's he doing?
Yep, little selfie cam. Sent in one big video, and then there's 3 separate clips here. One on, I'll just tease it. One on the offensive line, one on the quarterbacks, and one involving Phil Mackey as well.
wow.
But we will start with this one.
Hey, what's up, Score North? Apologies for not being able to make a day. My things got kind of moved around to my work. Client meeting got moved up, so wanted to get you my 3 write that down predictions. Starting off first, my Minnesota Vikings, their offensive line will not finish in the top half of the end of year 2021 season rankings by Pro Football Focus. And they usually rank them all the way of 132. I do not think they will be in the top half of that, just with 2 rookies on board.
I love how Pro Football Focus has become as mainstream as like Madden rankings. You know, the fact that they, 10 years ago, it was like, who are these nerds breaking down video? And all of the teams and coaches would make fun of them. And now all of those same teams and coaches are literally paying like tens of thousands of dollars a year for PFF to consult with their front offices. And they've just become
and they still get mad, though.
thing.
Coaches still get mad. That's my favorite thing. It's like, you employ them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that left
You can't
tackle
trust
rankings.
those rankings. Well, they just made a roster decision based on them this offseason. So, I don't know, man. All right. I like it. Judd, your first prediction.
All right. Dalvin Cook will lead the NFL in rushing yards this coming season.
Whoa, dude.
Dalvin Cook will, the past 2 years, he has played in 14 of the 16 games each year. So I feel like we're getting a little bit, like, he's still banged up and still gets hurt, which most backs do. Yeah. But I feel like we're getting past the point of him missing extensive time. So hopefully, for his sake, he can stay healthy. And he's going to, I mean, keep in mind, he's going to carry the ball a ton. It's a 17-game season now, which might be good or bad. But I'm going with, this is the year he leads the league in rushing.
I think it was MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew, just released his top 10 backs yesterday on NFL.com, and I believe Dalvin checked in at number 3 on his top 10 backs for 2021.
And I think, like, to that point, if he had been playing all 16 games the last couple of years, I think he'd be pretty widely regarded as number 1. And now you might say, well, Christian McCaffrey put up ridiculous numbers a couple of years ago when he was last healthy. But really, it's like that missed game or 2 or more, earlier in his career. That's the only thing that's preventing him from being regarded as the best running back in the NFL. So Judd's prediction is kind of a parlay. It's he'll stay healthy enough to lead the league in rushing next year.
Write that down.
All right, Dex.
All right, my first one. Kenny Nwangu, the rookie the Vikings drafted this year, will have a kick return touchdown in the preseason or the regular season. Okay. I'm going to save myself a little bit. He will have a kick return touchdown. He was a kick returner at Iowa State, I believe. And he will have a kick return touchdown in the preseason or the regular season.
Okay. Like where you're going there. Vikings could definitely use somebody to catch a football through the air on a kick.
All he has to do is run 15 yards, even on a punt, and that would basically be more than what happened last year.
It would be. Yeah. I mean, literally, if you ran 70 yards on one punt return, it would be more than they racked up all of last season. Think about that.
Write it down. Okay. You like writing things down.
All right, write this down. So I love the match. I made a prediction on Mackie and Judd. Write that down. That Tony Romo would team up with Phil Mickelson during the next iteration of the match. I'm going to give myself a little more leeway here on the Purple Daily version. Write this down. On the next iteration of the match, one of these 5 current or former NFL quarterbacks will be involved in some way. Tony Romo, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, and I don't know if this guy can golf, but he can pretty much do everything else. I'm going to say Pat Mahomes.
I think he golfs.
All right. I couldn't find anything on it.
He'll pick it up in about 3 weeks or 3 days.
He'll figure it
Not
out.
3 weeks.
Adam Thielen is actually a baller golfer, but I don't think he's popular enough to be on the match nationally.
Hey, when are we going to get an NBA player?
Steph Curry did. And Charles Barkley. Yeah, they did it last year.
That's right.
Yep. But there's a lot of NBA players that are good golfers.
Bring back,
dude.
Jordan.
That would be a blast.
And he'd be putting up side bets that would Phil and MJ would be putting up side bets that would probably be like $200,000 per hole or something.
We would need Tom Brady's done it twice now, and so I think we're kind of Tom Brady'd out. But if you could bring back either Brady or Manning, like just the football GOAT. And then bring in Michael Jordan. And you'd need Tiger Woods to come back, but I think his leg is still in shambles. So I don't know who the other golfer would be.
I'm not sure Tiger's coming back for anything like that.
No.
But like if you had Phil Mickelson, Michael Jordan, and let's say Peyton Manning as the 2 athletes, Who would your other golfer be? Like, who would be able, Bryson DeChambeau was just sort of a unique case in that he's so interesting, but you'd need another personality, a guy who's good enough and has a personality enough to be able to jump in. I don't know, man. I don't know who on the tour right now, like Jordan Spieth, like he'd be kind of fun, I guess. But Brooks Koepka's too much of a wet paper bag, no personality.
I don't know. That's a good.
Dustin Johnson has no personality.
DJ is as bland as paper. Yeah, he's not fun.
Yeah,
which is surprising considering his partying lifestyle that he had.
Well,
you'd think he'd be fun.
You'd be surprised how many
does drugs and hangs out in the corner.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many of those people exist. You should go to St. Cloud State sometime. Yeah, that happens.
I've been to the red carpet.
We'll stop commenting.
Speaking of golf, PXG would gladly supply some amazing clubs for your partying habits, but for,
I was wondering where you're going with that. Yes.
For your golf challenges. So PXG Minneapolis is a golfer's paradise. It's just a spectacular place to try some of these new clubs, the Gen 4 clubs, the 0 to 11 clubs. Summer apparel is here too. So if you just look, let's say you're just bad at golf like me and Declan, but you want to look like you're decent, they can hook you up there with some hats, some lids, some golf shirts. PXG Minneapolis in Southdale Center. This place is amazing. And check out more at pxg.com/Minneapolis. All right.
Write that down.
Where are we at? Are we back to John here?
Yes, sir. Here's John's second prediction.
Prediction is that Kellen Mond will take a snap during the 2021 regular season, and someone besides Kirk Cousins will complete a touchdown pass during the 2021 regular season there. Might be Kellen Mond, might not be, but I do believe that those two things will come true.
A little parlay action there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Aggressive.
So he's thinking that the Vikings might try a trick play of some sort, the old Sidney Rice throw pass, which would mean that Zim would take off the gloves a little bit and allow young Coobs to feel himself, if you know what I mean.
Or he would, or young Coobs would go behind Zim's back and throw a trick play in that Zim
he'd be
does not
fired
approve of, and then there'd be a what was that shouting match with the Oilers like 30 years ago? We'd have
Kevin Gilbride and Buddy Ryan.
Yeah, we'd have that kind of situation.
They started throwing fists on the sideline. That was great. I think Buddy Ryan threw a punch at him.
After the fake punt, the wide receiver pass is one of my favorite things in the NFL.
Well, we've talked about this. Sidney Rice had a great arm.
A wide receiver pass.
Sidney had the arm too. I mean, that was an attractive ball, if I may say so myself.
It gets me hyped. It gets me hyped. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen?
You don't know.
I'm so excited.
I agree with Declan here.
Yeah.
Randy Moss had an arm too. They ran that with Randy Moss a couple times. Is it going to be a reverse? Is he going to throw it? I don't know.
Write it down. Exactly. You like writing things down.
I don't know. I would just my entire playbook would be, listen, if we throw you the ball or hand you the ball behind the line of scrimmage, you have the option to throw it. Like if you see a tight end just standing over on the other side of the field, just pull the ball down and throw it to him. Let's spice this thing up.
The thing that Rice had that I liked, though, was decisiveness. Because the problem is, lots of times, if there's an option, the receiver is so afraid to throw a bad pass that he'll hesitate a little bit, and then it's lost,
Cut it
and
loose.
they take off, right?
Yeah.
Sidney would just throw it.
Yep.
Yeah, no fear, man. No fear. Cut it loose, baby.
That's right,
all right, Judd.
And if it's
cut
picked,
it loose
it's
here.
picked.
You got the ball now, Judd.
Okay.
Play game.
Your second prediction.
The Gophers football team will lose their season opener to Ohio State and then beat their next three opponents, which are at Purdue versus Nebraska at home versus Maryland at home. Is it Huntington Bank Stadium now? I think
that's going to be tough to. Yeah,
we just changed the name.
Yeah, I think so.
The Hunt. Anyway, are we going to call it the Hunt?
No.
College
the
kids.
Banks. They're still calling it the bank.
Good.
They're still calling because it is a bank that still owns it. TCF just
Okay, so we can. Okay, all right.
Yep.
I kind of like the Hunt though.
No, not for college kids. That would get goofed up.
Are you saying that they would replace the first letter with a different letter? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Interesting.
My beloved aunt episode from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The bank is just fine.
God.
All right, Declan, your second prediction.
All right, I will. I'm going to pour a little cold water on this. Larry Fitzgerald will remain unsigned and will announce his retirement from football by week 1 of the NFL season.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback off this.
Write this down.
Because Larry Fitzgerald was part of the match. He was like testing out his broadcast career yesterday on TNT with the match. And as much as I love me some Larry Fitz on the football field and as a human, He is terrible as a broadcaster.
Really?
And so, oh my God. Like,
His dad's good.
everything was a cliche. He had no energy. And even like some of the guys on the set were ribbing him like, hey man, like you got a hot mic right now. You can talk. So this is going to be probably the easiest completion of the season for me. But when the match comes back around again, Larry Fitzgerald will not be part of the coverage team. It'll be a one and done. So they've had Barkley back. They've had Kevin Frazier back. Kevin Frazier, who, by the way, he's very, very multi-talented. Used to be ESPN. Now I think he doesn't he do like one of those like entertainment shows on NBC or something? So he's done Sports Center, entertainment. He does the match, and he also does one of his other main gigs is he does the after show, like the reunion show for Married at First Sight on TLC or Lifetime, whatever the hell channel it is. So, I mean, that dude is multi-talented. Larry Fitzgerald, sorry, I don't think your career is in broadcasting. He will not be part of the next broadcast of the match.
Write this down.
All right. Did I bypass Declan, or are we going to John's third prediction here?
You did the right thing. You're right.
Cool.
You're right in order.
Yeah,
You're actually good.
Right. John's final
no
prediction.
Man in the huddle. Final prediction.
Lastly, third, Kirk Cousins will be ranked in the top 4 QBs by Pro Football Focus for the 2021 season. And Phil Mackey will call for a Kirk Cousins extension on Purple Daily or Mackey and Judd before the 2022 league year begins. Those are my predictions. Looking forward to a fun year. Thank you guys for all the content. Shout out to my wife who puts up with my Viking fandom and helped me come up with my Write That Downs as well. Appreciate all your fan-focused material. Take care, guys. Skol.
Dude, that was, first of all, great predictions. Just awesome predictions. What's the percentage chance that he's going to be right about those Kirk Cousins things, and then me just turning a complete about face and being a Kirk Cousins stan in about 6 months from now?
That was an unnecessary attempt at 2 predictions there, right? Like
I don't know. I like the aggressiveness coming. I mean, this is coming from you, a guy who has no touchdown passes on the season. The listeners are swinging for the fences.
Well, yeah, but once the predictions start to come off the board, the touchdowns will change. But I think the first part of his Cousins prediction has a chance. I think the second part with you calling for an extension has no chance.
I mean, listen, if you're
not going to call for an extension.
If I'm trying to think of a scenario in which there are scenarios in which I would call for an extension. I mean, if the Vikings go to the Super Bowl and Kirk Cousins is a driving force for why they're going to the Super Bowl, then I would probably call for a restructuring / an extension. So I will say that it is not impossible. People think that you guys are Kirk haters. Mackey's the number one Kirk hater. No, the mission statement on this show is we want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die. And I have questions about the current quarterback's ability to rise up against the best teams in the best situations, the brightest lights. If he starts to do some of those things, all right. Maybe John will be correct on that prediction. We'll see. Judd, your final prediction.
Write this down.
Carson Wentz will be named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. The Colts,
I like that
Carson
one.
Wentz will be named the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year.
Not a fan.
I think he's gonna. I think being in Philly, or I think getting out of Philly, going to the Colts, playing for Frank Reich, I think all of those things are going to help him. I don't think he's cooked. I do think, much like Ben Simmons' problem, when you're playing in Philadelphia and things start to go wrong, people hate your guts and want to kill you. Getting out of Philadelphia helps. So I think Carson Wentz actually comes back with a pretty good year.
Yeah, Philadelphia. I mean, those are some of the dumbest fans in America, like throwing full cans of beer at opposing fans and stuff. Like, it would just be really hard once the people get down on you. It'd be really hard to like want to play for them again, and you would just get sort of depressed about your life. So
Write it down. You like writing things down.
I can see why this is happening with a couple stars.
They like to boo their own players as much or more
They're idiots.
Than the opponents.
Yeah, no, they're dumbest fans in America. Philadelphia. We fought with them during the NFC Championship week, 3-4 years ago. That's
saying something because there's a lot of dumb fan bases out there.
Yeah, every guy named Angelo east of the Mississippi called in.
Well, they didn't like us. There's still a piece that you can find basically mocking my name.
Like Zolgad?
Yeah,
okay.
Judd Zolgad sounds like, I think they wrote something like, Judd Zolgad sounds like a guy that you want to punch in the face.
Wow, I think Vikings fans might agree sometimes with that too, though. In fairness.
Well, then, you know what I'm doing? I'm bonding. I'm bringing together Eagles and Vikings fans. You're welcome.
All right, Declan, your final prediction.
Yes, my final one. Judd Zolgad related predictions. Speaking of the devil, Judd will rip the Vikings for playing Dakota Dozier in a column or social media video in the first week of training camp.
Yes, dude.
Very possible.
And I know Judd now, this is great because now Judd will have to either not talk about it for a week, which will be very difficult for him not to do, or I get a point out of it.
That's fine.
Yes, so Judd will rip the Vikings for playing Dakota Dozier in a column or social media video, in the first week of training camp.
Now, I'm not sure the first week is pretty aggressive, but I mean, 2 weeks in, if he's still a first teamer, then yeah, it's going to happen.
I can see it being the first team.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
All right, I'm gonna stick with another Aaron Rodgers prediction here, just for fun here. So Aaron Rodgers, I'm already on the record saying I think he'll get traded. I might have even said the Broncos. I'm gonna say Aaron Rodgers will either hold out at the beginning of camp, or will be on a new team for the beginning of camp.
Okay.
So he'll either be holding out from the Packers, or he'll be on a new team at the beginning of camp. And those are the Write That Down predictions here. Every single week, we put our reputations on the line. We're the only show in America, and we do it twice, Mackie and Judd, Classic Edition as well, that actually keeps track of our predictions. Thanks to Federated for powering this prediction segment. Federated's been around for over 100 years in the state of Minnesota. There's been some severe weather in and around the last month or so in the Twin Cities, and think about the different outages and things that can happen that can potentially derail your company, right? Electrical systems, phone systems, computer systems, whatever. Federated provides resources and expertise to help guide you through potential weather-related hurdles during these summer months. So check them out at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. So with training camp is 3 weeks away? We're less than a month away from training camp. Judd Zolgad used to be the lead Vikings beat writer for the Star Tribune. He's been around the block a few times. He's covered a few Vikings camps in his day. Declan and I have as well, but we bow down to the godfather of Vikings coverage, Judd Zolgad here. And every week, and maybe even a couple times a week from now until the beginning of camp, we'd love to go back, open up the Vikings training camp vault, and sit down in front of the campfire while Sports Dad tells us tales of Vikings training camps past. And you brought this up, I think it was off mic, you mentioned, or maybe it was briefly like yesterday, you alluded to Brad Childress's first training camp as Vikings head coach. And we would love for you to revisit that story and just like that camp from 15 years ago.
Hear that? That's the crackling sound of a fire. Get cozy, kids.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That's nice. But
my marshmallow
actually, you know
here. Yes.
It's perfect because it's chilly here today. It's actually nice and chilly.
Unintended there.
Perfect.
It's great. It's in the 60s. It's chilly. We'll talk about chilly.
Tahi, Dugan.
So, kids, I'd like to take you back 15 years ago. And before I was the lead Vikings reporter for the Star Tribune. I covered the beat
QB1
as the secondary guy to the then lead guy, Kevin Seifert. And we covered the first Brad Childress training camp together.
Hey, when you're the lead Vikings beat writer, when Chip worked far underneath you as the secondary Vikings beat writer, would you just get to make him run and get you coffee? Would Chip have to run all of his paragraphs by you? What sort of power did you wield?
Well, actually, I was a very nice guy, and so I didn't wield that type of authority or power. It's a good question now in retrospect. I don't know what I could have done. I didn't push the limits back then. My ego, not as big. Now it's enormous.
Yes.
Yes.
I've got the beard now, so I look meaner. Mm-hmm. I'm older. Mm-hmm. No question about that. There's no doubt. Yeah. In fact, the Vikings beat aged me.
I'm about to say
exponentially.
Yeah.
I've looked back at old photos of myself. I was a dynamic young personality in this town.
You were.
And now I'm sort of old and washed up and grumpy all the time.
Yep.
The fire now sounds like a typewriter.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It's Judd. It's actually Judd
It's Chip.
from 2010.
No, it's Chip. It's Chip. Chip pounding away. He and Royce hunt and peck. Two guys who never learned how to type, and it's the greatest because they're just...
It's a sight.
Oh, and they both...
It's a sight.
You talk about punish the keyboard?
Oh, dude.
Punch the keys, Jamal. Yeah.
Royce punishes the keyboard, but he's nothing compared to Chip.
Yeah.
I'm surprised keys don't fly off Chip's keyboard.
Seriously.
So anyway, I'm going to take you back 15 years. 15 years ago, 2006, Brad Childress' first camp, Seifert and I on the beat. And that camp started. Now, this comes a year after Tice, and I'm not joking. Mike Tice's training camp practices were the greatest. Not because they were simple, but like you would get there to the primary field, which was the one closest to the stands in Mankato to watch practice. And we'd be on the sideline. They'd start around 9:15 in the morning. And I'm not joking, you guys. Whatever Mankato's version of KQRS was playing loudly in the background, and fans were getting drunk at 9:15.
Nice.
And like cheering on practice. And Ticey loved it. He'd walk around, like, let's run that drill again. And look, he had some tough practices, but it was as loosey-goosey as you could possibly get. The fans are blitzed by 10. Some band, REO Speedwagon is blaring. Brad Johnson's trying to, Blue 80, Blue 80, I can't fight this feeling.
The storm out.
Exactly. So anyway, we get to 2006. And keep in mind, Chili was brought here to bring down the hammer. He was going to show everybody, media, players, fans, that these were the new look, tougher, more disciplined for sure.
Respectful,
Vikings, including not practicing as much in the stand or by the stands because Phil, if you recall, there were 3 fields in Mankato that were practice fields aside from the stadium. So he would use the middle field and far field a lot to work on plays he didn't want people to see. I don't even know. Anyway, day 1 of training camp. It's pouring rain. I don't mean raining. I mean pouring rain. We're out there with umbrellas. And ordinarily, they'd go inside, practice in a gym, do a walkthrough stuff. Not Chili. Day one of training camp practice. Pouring, and Chili's got them out there barking at them and running them through drills. And I mean, these guys, so it's 06. So it's not now. It's not a Club Med. I mean, now guys would be like, what are we doing? But it was eye-opening. And this began a litany, a streak of practices. And I would like to read you a couple paragraphs from what Seifert wrote back then.
Wow.
Because I found these today to jog my memory of the brutalness of this practice. Because I remember we were about a week and a half in, and I was talking to Kevin. I'm like, this is highly unusual, right? Because I'd covered the Packers the previous training camp, and they practiced, but not like this. So this came out Sunday, August 6th, 2006, Star Tribune. Seifert wrote, the first week of Coach Brad Childress' inaugural Vikings training camp has registered as the most physically demanding in recent team history, featuring more live hitting and consecutive days of full pads than some prominent players have ever experienced. And then here's the second graph. So this is August 6th. Think about this now. The Vikings have practiced in full pads once a day since August 1st. Full pads, which means contact. Childress has paired each with a second daily practice in shells or shorts. They are not scheduled for a lighter day until that coming Sunday. So we're talking Sunday to Sunday, and you've already gone 5 days full tilt. The day before their preseason opener against Oakland, and do not have a day off until August 15th.
They started 4-2 that year.
They did, but
I wonder why they faded out down the stretch.
If Childress sticks to this schedule, players will take part in 12 consecutive days of full pads practices.
Wow.
Okay, think about that compared to today, where the day training camp starts, there's now a workup period to even put pads on.
Yeah, they certainly they don't go pads back-to-back days anymore even, do they?
No, hell no. And I mean, this is Zim, who would probably love to. But he had them hitting every single day. And I'm talking hitting to the ground. I'm talking tackling. He basically was trying to find out what they would look like in sort of pseudo game conditions.
Man.
This is 15 years ago. It reads like it's from 35 years ago.
So he came out of the gate, and his whole thing, Chili, was, I'm going to establish my presence as an NFL head coach, my dominance as an NFL head coach.
Football.
Started off hot, 4-2. Then they got waxed by the Patriots on Halloween, and that was pretty much the end of that season, if I recall.
Yes.
And then he had a bunch of patching up to do because the players mostly hated him or thought he was weird. And that was a thing that continued throughout his entire 4+ years. They all thought he was weird.
So he was the first guy that I remember, and I don't think we used the term at the time, but he was the first coach that I've covered that I remember lost the press conference. His introductory presser was a mess, to the point of where Bud Grant, who was among the dignitaries at the front table for the Vikings, had to tell Childress to get closer to the microphone.
Oh my God.
So Bud's like, get closer. Like, Bud barks this out. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So backstory to him being hired, he came in and took the job, and then he left, did the press conference and left and went back to Philly to clean stuff up and move, I think. And at some point in time, I got tipped off he was firing assistant coaches like left and right, which is not shocking. But like, it was like this guy was gone, then this guy was gone, then this guy was gone. So I had a cell phone for him. So I called him and I'm like, Brad, Judd Zolgad, Star Tribune, I'd like to talk to you about this, your changes, because it's worth reporting if he's going to fire a bunch of coaches. And it's not like they announced that, hey, we've fired all these guys. And Brad says to me something like, we'll take care of this problem, meaning me, when I get back to town.
Wait.
He said something like, I don't appreciate you calling me at home or on my cell phone. The media has had it, because they convinced him that Tice allowed us to wander around the building.
Well, he did though, right? I mean,
partied with us.
Tice would walk around the practice fields with media.
Tice would, but they thought we were wandering around, which we weren't. Mm-hmm. They thought that the Phil Mackeys and Zolgads and Seiferts were all, in the weight room one day. And
I was in Tice's hot tub about 3 days a week back in college, but
so Brad tells me we'll take care of this problem when I get back. And I'm like, oh, okay, dude, whatever. But I mean, this is how he thought he was going to
threatening to kill you. That's how I interpret it. We'll take care of this problem. He sleep with one eye open.
Yeah, exactly. And he thought he was going to crack down on all of this stuff. But his biggest mistake, of course, that year was the still ridiculous decision to cut Marcus Robinson on Christmas Eve, which is still one of the worst moves I've ever seen made. And talk about not understanding where you're coaching. Like in Philadelphia, that probably flies, right? Oh, hard ass. This is great. In Minnesota?
I love it. I love the look back at Chili. So we'll mix in more of these camp sessions with sports dad Judd Zolgad. I've got some stories too from covering that beat for 3 or 4 years.
But the Favre day is still the best.
The 2010 where he was coming back, and
the hot Favre day. Yes,
there's fake Favre was roaming around Mankato. So
we should do that next.
We'll definitely do some of those sprinkled in next week again. So thanks for hanging out with us. Daily Vikings entertainment here on Purple Daily. Please click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And we promise to deliver you, as ugly as we may be on your big screen TVs, daily Vikings entertainment in video form. We'll see you guys tomorrow.